a leader of an organization, how are you not close with the stars of the organization? And the dilemma right now in the WNBA is that the star players, the Asias, the Stewies, the Sabrinas, the Caitlin Clarks, they don't have a good enough relationship with the leader. The Nafisas, they don't have a good enough relationship with Kathy Engelbert. She came in and she wants all the credit for everything, but there's not enough communication between the leader and between the players. And now you got to revolt. Now everybody in the W is like, hold on, we want you up out of there. But I think the best thing I heard is, how can you negotiate if you don't communicate? And the dilemma is there's not even a negotiation, a quality negotiation right now between the players and between the W, because there's not quality communication right now between the players and between the executives for the W.
This is wild. Adam Silver just did the one thing nobody thought he would, and it's about to flip the entire WNBA upside down. He didn't just whisper a warning. He pulled the ultimate trigger and sent a message that every fan has been begging for. Kathy Engelbert? Gone. Tossed out of the commissioner's chair like yesterday's trash. And the crazy part? This wasn't about politics, or patience, or progress. This was about survival. Because the truth is simple. Without Caitlin Clark, this league doesn't just wobble, it crumbles. And that's exactly why Silver had no choice. But trust me, the firing is only the surface. The real chaos hiding underneath will blow your mind. The league woke up to news nobody saw coming. The commissioner had been fired. Fans who'd been screaming for accountability couldn't believe it. After months of brutal officiating, arrogant comments, and public player revolts, Engelbert finally lost her throne. But here's the thing. This wasn't some graceful resignation. She didn't step down with dignity. Adam Silver yanked her out. And here's the part nobody expected. Silver didn't just fire her. He did it to save the league from total collapse. So what pushed Silver over the edge? It wasn't just one bad decision, it was a tidal wave. Nafisa Collier flat out torched Engelbert in her exit interview. Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull joined in, turning social media into a firing squad. And fans? They threatened boycotts, even promising to turn off Fever games if Engelbert stayed in charge. This wasn't chaos by accident, it was a coordinated revolt. And when players this powerful join forces, you know something explosive is about to go down. But the real gasoline came straight from Engelbert's own mouth. Remember her comments? Only losers complain about refs. Clark should be grateful for the WNBA. She actually told players they should be on their knees thanking her for a media deal. Imagine hearing that when you're the one selling out arenas and breaking TV records. That arrogance wasn't just insulting, it was career suicide. And the second Caitlin Clark's name got dragged into this, everything turned nuclear, and Silver couldn't ignore it anymore. Let's make one thing crystal clear. Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie phenom. She is the golden goose keeping the WNBA alive. She filled arenas before she even touched the league. She brought record-shattering ratings the second she laced up in Fever colors. She dragged sponsors into boardrooms that had ignored women's basketball for decades. Without Clark, the WNBA goes back to being a punchline. And Engelbert's genius idea? She tried to belittle the one player keeping the lights on. That mistake alone destroyed her. Now here's where it gets brutal. Adam Silver didn't act out of love for players. He acted because the money was on fire. Networks were watching closely. Billion-dollar NBA media deals were linked directly to Clark's success. The sponsors who had just signed checks were panicking. The NBA's reputation itself was being dragged through the mud. Silver had no choice. Fire Engelbert or risk watching the entire WNBA collapse on his watch. This wasn't about leadership. This was about billions on the line. And Silver wasn't about to let the golden goose walk away. It wasn't just the players. Fans had been screaming for months. They saw elbows flying, Clark getting hacked to the floor, refs swallowing whistles like candy, and Engelbert doing absolutely nothing. Online hashtags demanded change. Boycott campaigns trended. And outside of Fever games, attendance flatlined. Fans were tuning out. They were done. When fans start threatening boycotts, that's not noise. That's a warning shot. And Silver heard it loud and clear. Here's the dirty truth. Refereeing was the biggest scandal of the season. Missed calls, phantom fouls, obvious favoritism. It was chaos. Coaches like Becky Hammon warned this would explode if ignored, and they were right. Night after night, players begged for consistency, while Engelbert kept repeating, "We have the best refs in the world." Excuse me? Best in the world? Fans were watching flagrant fouls ignored like backyard basketball. Even NBA refs would have thrown fists at this nonsense. But here's the truth. If the refs don't change, Clark's career could be destroyed before it even peaks. Then came the dagger. Nafisa Collier didn't just criticize, She obliterated Engelbert in her exit presser. She called WNBA leadership the worst in professional sports. She said injuries were ignored, officiating was a joke, and players were dismissed like they didn't matter. And the worst part? She exposed Engelbert for mocking Clark behind closed doors, saying she should be grateful the league even exists. Collier didn't just criticize Engelbert. She nuked her entire reputation in one interview. Once Collier lit the fire, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull poured gasoline. Their words weren't random. This was coordinated, a united front. For the first time in years, players realized they had leverage. They smelled weakness at the top and pounced. And once players smelled blood, it was over. Engelbert didn't just lose her job. She lost the locker room forever. Follow the money, and you'll find the truth. Sponsors weren't paying for Engelbert's ecosystem speeches. They were paying for Caitlin Clark's star power. Networks weren't negotiating for random Tuesday night games. They were fighting for Clark matchups. And when Engelbert dismissed her value, that wasn't just tone-deaf, it was reckless. Sponsors don't write checks for speeches. They write them for stars. And Clark was the biggest star Engelbert tried to silence. So here's the big question. Who replaces her? The league can't just throw another suit in the chair. They need someone who gets it. Someone who actually values players, who understands that Clark isn't a pawn. She's the centerpiece. Whoever steps in must rebuild trust, repair officiating, and prove to fans this league isn't just about PR spin. Because let's be real, if they get this wrong again, the WNBA won't survive Clark walking away. Under Engelbert, truth was punished. Coaches fined for honesty, players threatened if they spoke out, fans dismissed as toxic. It was a culture of silence designed to protect the office, not the players. That has to die immediately. But silencing players backfired, because this time the players fought back louder than ever. Everything still comes back to Caitlin Clark. She's not just the future, she's the present. She's the reason ESPN cares. She's the reason kids wear Fever jerseys. She's the reason arenas outside Indiana are selling tickets. Without her, this league's numbers collapse overnight. And the scary part? If Clark ever decides she's had enough, this league is finished overnight. This is the irony that will haunt Engelbert forever. She believed Clark owed her career to the league. Reality says otherwise. Clark was a star before she even walked into the draft. She had million-dollar sponsors before she wore a Fever jersey. She filled arenas in college that outdrew WNBA playoff games. The league didn't build her, she built herself. Engelbert thought Clark needed the league, but the truth is brutal. The league was nothing without her. So here we are, a commissioner gone, a league in chaos, a superstar finally respected. But don't think this fixes everything. Silver didn't fire Engelbert because he suddenly grew a conscience. He fired her because his golden goose was at risk. And while that might buy the league time, it doesn't erase the deeper problems. Refs with no accountability, players with no trust, and fans with fading patience. The WNBA stands at a crossroads. Engelbert's gone, but don't blink, because the next commissioner could either save the WNBA or bury it for good.